Actress Loretta Swit, best known for playing the character Margaret Hot Lips Houlihan on the long-running sitcom MAS*H, died today, TMZ has learned. Swit's publicist, Harlan Bowl, tells TMZ the two spoke last night and she seemed fine. Bowl said Swit died Friday inside her NYC apartment. She was found at 10 a.m. by her maid. Swit was pronounced dead at noon, according to Bowl. No cause of death has been confirmed, but Bowl says they believe she died from natural causes. Swit was a 10-time Emmy nominee, winning twice, for her work on the show, which depicted a U.S. Army medical unit operating on the front lines of the Korean War. The name stands for Mobile Army Surgical Hospital. Comedy drama show ran from 1972 to 1983. With the series finale racking 106 million viewers, still the most watched scripted TV episode in history. She worked in television for decades, appearing on Hawaii 5 Show and Murder, She Wrote, among many other shows, and in some movies. But her role as Hot Lips cemented her place in TV history. Loretta Swit was 87. R.I.P. It's hard to describe the collective silence that falls over a generation when someone like Loretta Swit passes away. Not because we weren't expecting it someday, after all, 87 years is a full life. Not because she was constantly in the public eye in recent years. No, it's because her presence has always lingered, like an echo from a time when television was more than just entertainment. It was a mirror to our hopes, our wounds, and sometimes even our healing. Loretta Swit wasn't just an actress. She was a symbol, an era, a spirit. Kind of performer who didn't just play a role but transformed it, lived it, breathed it into being. And for many, her death feels like saying goodbye to a time in their lives when she was on their screens weekly, living out a complex, beautiful, sometimes heartbreaking portrayal of strength, femininity, and vulnerability all at once. Born Loretta Jane Swit on November 4, 1937 in Passaic, New Jersey, she was the daughter of Polish-American parents who instilled in her a strong sense of work ethic, discipline, and spirituality. From a young age, she was drawn to performance, not in a superficial sense, but from a desire to communicate, to move people, to connect. Her love for animals and compassion for others were traits she carried through her life, but it was her pursuit of art and truth in storytelling that defined her professional path. She trained with Gene Frankel in Manhattan and soon found herself immersed in the theater world. Long before television would make her a star, she had already proven herself a capable and compelling actress on the stage. That training, those roots in performance art and live theater, shaped her delivery and her dedication to character. She wasn't interested in being a starlet. She wanted to be an actress. A real one. And she was. When MASH** came along in 1972, it was something no one could have quite predicted. Based on the 1970 Robert Altman film, the television adaptation was originally expected to be just another military comedy, a light-hearted take on wartime absurdities. But over the years, it morphed into something much more layered. Tackled trauma, grief, politics, gender, and the brutal contradictions of war. And at the heart of that show, through all the changes, the shifting dynamics, the cultural reckonings, was Loretta Swit. As Major Margaret Houlihan, she began as a caricature, the uptight, rule-following military nurse with a chip on her shoulder and a complicated romantic entanglement with Frank Burns. But Loretta wasn't content to let the character sit in that space. She pushed. She pulled. She asked questions. She breathed humanity into Houlihan. And across the 11 seasons of the show, we witnessed one of the most profound character evolutions in television history. Houlihan became real. She became someone the audience respected, someone layered with pain and pride, someone who could break your heart and also make you laugh out loud. And it was Loretta who brought that to life. Through quiet defiance, gentle expressions, and emotional vulnerability, she carved out space for strong women on television, women who could be tough and tender, ambitious and compassionate, broken and still powerful. Loretta's performance didn't go unnoticed. 10 Emmy nominations, 2 wins, accolades from her peers. But more importantly, a permanent place in the hearts of viewers. People saw themselves in Margaret Houlihan. They saw their mothers, their sisters, their own struggles. And they saw someone who didn't give up, even when it hurt, even when it was lonely. Off-screen, Loretta was just as committed to causes that mattered to her. She was a lifelong animal rights advocate, devoting much of her post-MASH life to activism. She worked closely with organizations fighting animal cruelty, promoting vegetarianism, and advocating for stronger protections for wildlife. In interviews, she often spoke more passionately about her animal rights work than her television career, proving that fame had not dimmed her sense of moral responsibility. Her compassion extended far beyond species. She was known for treating fans with grace, for being generous with her time at conventions and reunions, and for mentoring young actors coming up in the business. She believed in kindness. And she believed in using her platform for something greater than self-promotion. Though MASH * remained the crown jewel of her resume, Loretta continued to work in television throughout the 80s and 90s. She made appearances on The Love Boat, Fantasy Island, Diagnosis, Murder, and more. She also returned to the stage periodically, always drawn back to her theatrical roots. Even as the industry changed, Loretta held fast to her principles. She turned down roles she felt were shallow or demeaning. She chose projects that reflected her values. In her later years, she published a book titled Sweetheart, which showcased her love for animals through a combination of photography and storytelling. The book was a love letter to creatures who couldn't speak for themselves and a reminder that empathy is the most essential human trait. It wasn't a bestseller by commercial standards, but to those who read it, it was profound. Her personal life was marked by independence. She married actor Dennis Holohan in 1983, but the union didn't last. They divorced in 1995, and she never remarried. Friends say she was content being single. She had her work, her causes, and her circle of trusted loved ones. She didn't chase attention. She didn't care for the Hollywood game. She simply lived and lived with intention. When news of her passing broke, tributes flooded in from fans, fellow actors, and those who had worked with her over the decades. Alan Alda, her longtime co-star on MASH *, reportedly said that working with Loretta was one of the joys of his career. He described her as a brilliant performer and a person of great integrity and warmth. Others echoed similar sentiments, that she was not only talented but deeply kind. There's a particular kind of grief that comes with the passing of cultural icons. It's not just about the person. It's about what they represented, about the chapters of our own lives that they helped shape. For many, MASH * was a lifeline, something that helped them through difficult years. Characters felt like friends, and none more so than Margaret Houlihan. Loretta Swit's death is a closing door, a reminder that even the brightest lights eventually dim. But it's also a chance to reflect, to remember not just the performances but the woman behind them, the advocate, the artist, the soul who believed in decency and fought for it every day. She didn't go out with fanfare. No scandale. No headlines built on controversy. She left us the same way she lived, with quiet dignity. Her apartment in New York City was a modest one. Not extravagant. Not the sort of place you'd expect a television legend to spend her final days. But that was Loretta. Grounded. Real. More interested in meaning than material. Her maid, who had worked for her for years, found her unresponsive that morning. There was no chaos, no dramatic scene. Just the stillness that follows a life completed. She was pronounced dead at noon. And in that moment, a chapter of television history came to a close. But endings are also beginnings. And Loretta's work, her impact, will live on. In reruns. In the hearts of fans. In the kindness she showed. In the animals she saved. In the standards she set. She reminded us that you could be powerful without being cruel. That you could be ambitious without stepping on others. That you could be a woman in a man's world and still change the game. And so we say goodbye. To Loretta Swit. To Margaret Houlihan. To a legend who wore her heart on her sleeve and made us all feel a little more seen.